Hey everybody, this is Mike Doretta with SashaPUA.com, and today I want to talk to you about neediness and the things that prevent us from being needy. Now, this is a question that comes from our Facebook forum, actually. A couple guys were asking about, how does self-respect, worthiness, your feeling of doubt in your abilities around, seduction or picking up women or whatever, how do these things play a role in your level of neediness and needy behavior? Great question. First, let's start off by defining neediness, and I think that the definition from Mark Manson's models, where basically you're being needy anytime that you value someone else's opinion about you more than you value your own opinion about you or your actions. Hope I didn't butcher that, Mark. Basically, the example that I like to use is when you're trying to text somebody and you're taking 10 minutes to come up with a text. Would you do that if you were texting a male, right? If you were texting one of your guy friends, would you stare at your phone for 10 minutes going, oh, what are the exact right words? If I say this, then he's gonna think that, or if I say this, then he might think that. That's needy behavior. Basically, you're looking for validation, you're looking for acceptance from the person that you're being needy with. So it makes sense that, having a lot of self-respect, having a high feeling of worthiness, all that kind of stuff would help mitigate neediness, would help decrease it for you, because, when you're confident, when you're already confident in what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're behaving, even your whole lifestyle, then you don't have these needy thoughts. You're not sitting there wondering, oh, how is this person going to feel about this? Because you already know that, or you already feel that what you're doing is right, is the correct thing. Meaning that if they have a negative response, that means that they're proving to you that they're actually not a compatible match with you. That's what it means to really be confident in your dating abilities, is that when you run into a wall, when you run into a mismatch in your behavior, you say or do something and she takes it negatively, you can feel confident knowing that her reaction is not because you're a bad person or you did something wrong or you were misbehaving somehow. It's just that she's not a fit. This particular person is not a fit. So I actually think that the original question was about self-respect and worthiness and things like that, and I'll get to those. But really, I think you can have a high level of self-respect and still be needy. I think that you can feel worthy of a person and still be needy. I think really what it comes down to is a scarcity mentality coupled with insecurity in your particular scenario, whatever the specifics are of what you're doing. Could be texting, could be actual sex, could be the date. Those two things combined make for needy behavior, because you're thinking to yourself, okay, number one, I'm not confident in what I'm doing, so there could be things that I'm doing wrong, so I should probably double check with the person. That just makes logical sense, except the double checking comes off as very weak and needy. And then the scarcity mentality makes you go, I can't mess this one up. If I mess this one up, who knows when I'll have another opportunity, who knows when I'll have another chance. So you really over-focus or hyper-focus on the thing that you're doing, and that's what leads to 10 minutes to send a 3-sentence text, right? So how do we deal with this? Well, number one, as is always one of my pieces of advice, is more volume. If you don't yet feel like you're experiencing abundance, like if you're not going on, all these dates, you're not having a lot of success, like 90% of the time when I hear that stuff, it ties back to, now this is assuming you're trained, right? Assuming you follow our philosophies and you know what you're doing out there. Assuming you know what you're doing, then it's usually a matter of just not practicing enough. I'll talk to somebody that is trained with us, months ago, and they say, "Hey, Mike, I thought after the boot camp I would be getting all these results, but I'm not. What's wrong?" And I'll say, "Okay, well, it's been 3 months, 6 months, whatever." How long ago did you make your 100th approach, right? Like, how long ago has it been since you've done 100 approaches? And they're like, oh, I don't think I've hit 100 approaches yet. And I say, wait a minute, you trained 3 months ago, 6 months ago, whatever, and you haven't made 100 approaches. I mean, you can do that in a weekend, after you do the boot camp. So a lot of people just don't realize the amount of volume that they need to put in. So once you fix that and you start doing more approaches, approaching 10 out of 10 beautiful women that you see in a given day instead of 8 out of 10 or 1 out of 10 or 0, you'll build momentum in positive experiences. People will be responding to you, and even if it's not the ideal experience, even if it's not like everything you want, like you didn't meet your soulmate or you didn't end up having sex with the person or whatever, all of that positivity, that positive energy builds to sort of demonstrate to you that the reality of this situation is abundance. It's not scarcity. When you know what you're doing and you don't have anything stopping you from doing it, it's only a matter of time until you realize that you're screening in the right people and you're no longer spending time with the wrong people. So things start to feel a lot more efficient, a lot more fluid, a lot more just overall positive. So that would be step one. If you're feeling needy, you need to be doing more. Okay, work on your feeling of abundance by doing more, having more experiences, and actually proving to yourself, living a life of abundance. And the only way you get there is through lots of action. The other thing is that insecurity. So again, this comes from sort of knowing what you're doing, and these things are gonna. It's a positive upward spiral. The more volume you do, the more attempts that you make, the more your confidence will grow. The more confidence grows, the more attempts that you make, the more volume that you do. Until eventually you're not thinking about this kind of stuff anymore. It becomes second nature, and there's no more staring at your phone for 10 minutes. You just go, oh, boom, and then you have no second thought about it, right? Another thing that guys tend to do is I guess really what my overall advice here is more effort and relaxing, not caring so much about every single instance. One of the big things that we talk about is making sure you find your species, making sure you find very highly compatible women at the very beginning of the relationship. Basically, from the point that you approach her, through the date, through the rest of the relationship, her actions should be giving you encouragement, should be telling you like, oh yeah, you are on the right track. Basically, you should be able to see this by observing the scenario, not by acting in overtly needy ways. Is this okay? Is this all right? Blah, blah, blah. Like, maybe you're not that bad, but that's what you're doing in your head when you're writing that, taking 10 minutes to write 3 sentences. Does self-respect help? Of course. Does a feeling of worthiness help? Of course it does. All of these things help. I don't think that when it comes to self-respect or worthiness, I don't think that either of them by themselves is going to completely inoculate you to neediness. I think that just having an overall feeling of competence, knowing that you know what you're doing, I think that's step one, because the emotional side of this, right? Like the logical side, don't be needy. Neediness kind of looks like this. Here's what the definition is. Don't do that, right? But the emotional side is different. The emotional side is, can you follow that advice when you're amped up, when you're looking at that phone, when you're sitting in front of your date, and now you have to basically not perform per se, but you have to be competent at that point. Can you be competent? Can you apply the things that you learn? Self-respect, worthiness, having a high level of that isn't going to necessarily help you there, but having a feeling of abundance will help you go, okay, this might not be the ideal text. I might not know exactly what I'm doing here, but I will get another chance. I will have another chance, if not with this woman, with another woman, and I'm never going to learn, and I'm never going to get over my neediness until I start acting like a non-needy person. That's how you get the emotional side handled. You have to act as if you're not needy, and then prove to yourself that acting that way is the more positive method of acting. And it is, spoiler alert, so go ahead and do that. But yeah, that's just a little bit on the different factors that go into mitigating the feeling of neediness. Really, get out there, keep approaching, keep talking to people, keep staying on the right course, and in time you will start losing that thing. I think that it's a process like anything else. It's a mental shift, and you have a mental habit. You have neural pathways that are ingrained towards neediness. So what you need to do is recognize when it's happening, stop yourself, interrupt the pattern, and replace it with a more positive action in the real world. And then you got to step back and let go. You can't be a perfectionist about this stuff. You got to take the action and see what happens, and then just deal with the consequences. And that's a much more efficient, much better, less dramatic, and less mentally taxing way to live. So hope that's been helpful for you guys. Get out there, keep approaching, and we'll see you in the next video.